So this is Christmas. What have you done? Another year over. A new one just begun. So this is Christmas. Richer for poor. Why am I singing Christmas songs? I don't know. Doobie 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 doo. Da da. Do 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 da 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 da. There's actually it's fine too. Well, not really much to talk about at this point. I think I might get right on it. I heard the news today. Oh. I think I'll just close that. I don't think I need that one open. I think we're good. I think we're ready to get started here. Let me make sure my mic is going out. So I love to tell you, let's get the bug off the screen there. Alright. 1, 2, this is how we do. Tonight, Star Trek renewals all around. New Star Wars games announced. More Suicide Squad for HBO Max. Pip was last minute. An interview with author Carrie Harris. And remember Yvette Minogue, Sharon Moffat, Louis Anderson, Howard Hessman, and Meatloaf. All that and more on this jam-packed edition of Multiverse Tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. And here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 156 of Multiverse Tonight. I'm, of course, your host, Thomas Townley. And here we are, finishing out January. We're still doing a combined edition, but if there's as much news in the next episode as there is in this one, I might go back to splitting them up again. Who knows? Not much to say at the beginning of the show. Last night was Saturday night was the Royal Rumble. Good lay wife and I watched that. It was interesting. I think the men's Royal Rumble match kind of lacked. There wasn't much surprise there, and ended, with Brock Lesnar winning, coming in at number 30 and eliminating everyone. So he's definitely going after Roman Reigns. We all know that. Ronda Rousey won the women's Royal Rumble match to qualify for for a shot at WrestleMania. She looked pretty good. There's a lot more interesting things, I think, in the women's match than the men's match. The men's match had Bad Bunny show up, musical artist Bad Bunny show up, and he actually held his own for a while. Shane McMahon also showed up there. Johnny Knoxville also entered the Rumble, and he got pretty banged up over that, I'm sure. Now I don't know why this pay-per-view went on forever. They could have taken the Ms. and Mrs. versus the Grit couple match out of there and put on Raw, and it would have been just fine. Instead, it just made it too long. Becky Lynch defeated Doudrop. And there's a lot of interesting... it was an interesting show. I'll say that. Let's go on to some box office news. Now, this weekend's box office was kind of unique. There was no real new movies coming out this weekend. So... I'll start at number 10 here. West Side Story came in at number 10. Licorice Pizza came in at number 9. Ghostbusters Afterlife came in at number 8. That's it was 11th last week. So you see what having no new content does. The old content gets a second chance. And the American Underdog came in at number 7. The 355 came in at number 6. The King's Man came in at number 5. Redeeming Love came in at number 4. Sing came in at number 2. Sing 2 came in at number 3. And Scream 2 came in at number 2. It's made $62 million, but there's no way anyone is catching Spider-Man No Way Home, which brought in another $11 million domestically for $735.8 million. That's, it only dropped like 30 theaters from the week before. Now, on the lifetime gross list, number 10 is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. The Avengers is still number 9. Jurassic World is at number 8. Titanic is number 7. Avengers Infinity War is number 6. Black Panther has dropped to number 5. Spider-Man No Way Home is now number 4 with 735,886,280 million. Avatar, now it's gaining on Avatar's third place spot. Avatar has $760.5 million gross lifetime. Avengers Endgame and Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens rounds out the top 2. So let's go on, and since we got a lot to talk about today, let's go on to the Star Trek news. Now, we start the Star Trek news with a timeline for the upcoming Star Trek series for the rest of the year. Star Trek Strange New Worlds will premiere on Paramount Plus on May 5th. Star Trek Picard Season 2 will now debut on March the 3rd. Now, Paramount Plus has announced that it would renew Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Strange New Worlds for additional seasons. Star Trek Discovery will receive a 10-episode fifth season on the streaming service. Now, the series is currently in mid-season hiatus amid its fourth season and will return with new episodes on February 10th. Star Trek Lower Decks is renewed for a fourth 10-episode season ahead of its debut of its 10-episode third season this summer. And Discovery spin-off series Star Trek Strange New Worlds has already been renewed for another 10-episode second season ahead of its premiere this May. And, they're all fine shows. Discovery is my least favorite, but, they're all fine shows. If you haven't watched Star Trek Prodigy, by the way, watch that show. It is good stuff. On to some gaming news. Star Trek Online has added Kate Mulgrew in a double role as Admiral Janeway and the mirror version of Janeway for the game's 12th anniversary episode called Redshift, which is part of the Shadows Advance, the name of the game's new season. Players will embark on a mission also involving Captain Killy and Admiral Lita. Shadows Advance introduces a new featured episode, a new space task force operation, and an anniversary event to unlock the T6 Jarek Alliance carrier. Now, in its Star Trek Online First, players will get to play the Mirror Universe version of their captain in the new feature episode Redshift. Captains join Terran forces led by Marshal Janeway, voiced by Mulgrew, to kidnap someone of great importance from Jupiter Station in Federation space. Afterward, they'll join Captain Killy, the Mirror Universe version of Ensign Tilly from Star Trek Discovery. The new season follows Admiral Janeway of the Prime Universe's perspective as she retells the story of their exploits. Here's the complete list as provided by Perfect World Entertainment. The, of course, new feature episode, Redshift. The new task force operation, which is called Iupiter Iratus. Players will need to assemble a team of 5 to stop the Terran Empire from stealing data from Jupiter Station. Of course, the anniversary event, backed by popular demand, the devs have released the Omega Molecule Stabilization mission, which tasks players with stabilizing Omega molecules that QS scattered throughout the galaxy. Participating in this event will, along with numerous episodes and TFOs associated with the Mirror Universe, will unlock this year's anniversary ship, the T6 Jarek Alliance carrier. Now, of course, we can't have a new episode without guest stars, which I talked about earlier. So it's out now. Go ahead and play it. If you've never seen Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, now's your chance. In association with Turner Classic Movies, Fathom Events will send The Wrath of Khan back to theaters for 3 nights in September. On Sundays, September 4th, September 5th, and September 8th, one of the most celebrated and essential adventures from the Star Trek universe, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, will celebrate 40 years with a director's cut on the big screen. On routine training maneuvers, Admiral James T. Kirk seems resigned that this may be the last space mission of his career, but an adversary from the past has returned with a vengeance. Aided by his exiled band of genetic supermen, Khan, brilliant renegade of 20th century Earth, has raided Space Station Regular 1, stolen a top-secret device called Project Genesis, wrestled control of another Federation starship, and now schemes to set a most deadly trap for his old enemy Kirk, with the threat of a universal Armageddon. Yeah, I've seen it in theaters once already. It's if you want to see this movie on the big screen, go see it on the big screen. It's excellent to see it on the big screen. The first in the line of new Playmates action figures has been revealed. Now, these new figures are 5 inches tall, 1/14 scale, with 14 points of articulation, and retro 90s packaging. Now, Discovery characters will also be included with the new Star Trek Universe blister pet cards. Included in the first line are a Star Trek Next Generation Picard figure, a Data figure, a Riker figure, a Captain Kirk figure, a Spock figure, a Khan figure, a Michael Burnham figure, and a Commander Saru figure. They'll run you $15.99 a piece. Yeah, I know that's expensive, but again, if I'm sure it's not too much more expensive than than it was back then if you factor in adjustments for time. In addition to the action figures, Playmates Toys is also releasing an original series phaser replica of lights, sounds, and retro packaging. And to top it all off, there will be a massive 18-inch scale original series Enterprise vehicle with lights, sounds, and retro packaging. Now, that phaser replica will set you back $29.99, and the Enterprise will set you back $49.99. The Playmates Star Trek Universe Collection is available for pre-order now with a release date in July of 2022. And additional figures and accessories will be announced later this year for an early 2023 launch. Now let's go on to that Star Wars news.
Roger, Roger.
Star Wars Ahsoka has added Mary Elizabeth Winstead to the cast of the future Disney Plus series. Now the show, which begins production this spring in California, stars Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, the ex-Jedi who made her live-action debut in The Mandalorian. The cast also includes Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine Wren, and Ivana Sakno in a currently unknown role. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is set to launch later this spring on April 5th. The game will be coming to virtually every platform that is currently available, including PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Electronic Arts and Lucasfilm Games announced today that developer Respawn Entertainment is now working on 3 new video games associated with the Star Wars IP. Electronic Arts Incorporated and Lucasfilm Games are joining forces to continue delivering all-new world-class gaming experiences set within the beloved Star Wars galaxy. Respawn Entertainment, best known for their work on Apex Legends, Titanfall, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, is leading the development and production on these new projects. Vamp Zampella, Group GM and founder of Respawn, will oversee this new phase of EA's relationship with Lucasfilm, building on Respawn's award-winning history in game development and expertise in telling compelling Star Wars stories. Now, game designer Stig Amundsen and his team at the studio are already working on the next game in the action-adventure Star Wars Jedi series, and are joined by 2 new teams working to deliver additional unique Star Wars gameplay experiences across multiple genres. Now, leading the development of Respawn's all-new Star Wars first-person shooter game is Peter Hirschman, game director at Respawn, who has a long and accomplished history with the Star Wars franchise. The third title is a Star Wars strategy game developed through a production collaboration with the newly formed studio Bit Reactor, held by games industry veteran Greg Fortish. Respawn will produce the new Star Wars strategy game, while Bit Reactor will lead the development on the title. In a statement, Douglas Riley, VP of Lucasfilm Games, said, "We are excited to continue working with the superbly talented developers at Respawn. They have demonstrated excellence in telling Star Wars stories, along with best-in-class gameplay across different genres, and we're looking forward to bringing more amazing experiences to the galaxy far, far away." And there's plenty more statements there. You can go and read them in our show notes. Now let's move on over to some DC Comics news. And we start the comics news today with do you really want to taste it? Yeah, I had to get that in. By the way, if you just watch the title sequence for the new Peacemaker series, and that's all you watch it. It is great, it is hilarious, and is a great song. James Gunn's Peacemaker series has a 94% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, is now the highest reviewed project ever for the DCEU. Now, it beat out the first Wonder Woman movie by 1%. The lowest rated is 2016 Suicide Squad with 26%. Now, for this next story, you'll want to find a theater with comfy seats. The runtime for The Batman will be 2 hours and 55 minutes. Yeah, that's right. That's a little shorter than Marvel's Avengers Endgame, which ran for 3 hours and 1 minute. The movie arrives in theaters on March 4th. Yeah, I definitely would not see that in like a a movie house with traditional seating because you will get trucker's butt if you sit around in the seat that long. Definitely look for someplace that has like recliner seats or something, something really well padded. Just my 2 cents. A new Batman game by Portal Games has been announced. The tabletop game called Batman Everybody Lies uses the game publisher's detective system to work their way through a new narrative storyline set in Gotham City. Now, players will play as 4 investigators, Catwoman, Harvey Bale, Vicky Vale, or Warren Spacey, as they attempt to find the truth behind a series of mysterious events unfolding in Gotham City. Players will not only visit famous locations in Gotham City, but they'll also cross paths with Batman, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, the Penguin, and other classic characters from the Batman line of comics. The game comes with an introductory prologue and 3 cases, each of which takes 2 to 3 hours to play. Now, every case can be played as a standalone game, but the cases combined to form a single narrative. Batman Everybody Lies will retail for $50 and will be out this summer with pre-orders starting this March. Ivory Aquino, who has been in Tales of the City, When We Rise, has been cast in the HBO Max feature film Batgirl as Alicia Yeoh, the best friend of the titular superhero Barbara Gordon, played by Leslie Grace. Now, both Aquino and Yeoh are transgender, marking the first time a live-action feature film adaptation of a DC Comics title will feature an openly trans character. Yeoh first appeared in 2011's issue of Batgirl, written by Gail Simone and penciled by Ardeen Syaf. James Gunn says another Suicide Squad spin-off is in the works. Gunn, speaking to Deadline.com's Hero Nation, said, quote, "We're working on something else now. Another TV show that's connected to that universe. I can't quite say," unquote. He also said that there's a really good chance of a second season of Peacemaker. HBO Max, which was contacted by Deadline, had no comment on the spinoff or the second season order. Now let's head on over to the Marvel news. In Marvel news, Daredevil is back in Hell's Kitchen in a new series. Daredevil will relaunch with a new #1 following the climax of the Devil's Reign event. Writer Chip Zdarsky and artist Marco Cicchetto will be continuing their Eisner-nominated run on Daredevil this June. Now known for their transformative work on the saga of Matt Murdock, Elektra, Kingpin, and more, the superstar creative team will turn their gaze to a future full of peril and pain in this explosive beginning for an all-new era for Hell's Kitchen's Guardian Devil. After the shocking events of Devil's Reign, what is left of Daredevil? Who lived? Who died? And why? And who is left to pick up the pieces? Fans can expect the series to tackle both Matt and Elektra's journeys as they deal with the brutal cost of taking on the Daredevil mantle. With new enemies and radical changes to the fabric of Daredevil's mythos, Daredevil #1 is set to usher in the darkest Hell's Kitchen to date. It arrives in comic book stores in June. If the appearance of Pip the Troll in the end credits of Marvel's Eternals seemed rather rough, there was a reason for that. It was, in an interview with The Wrap, the VFX Super... Let's try this one again. If the appearance of Pip the Troll in the end credit sequence of Marvel's Eternals seemed rather rough, there was a reason for that. It was. In an interview with The Wrap, VFX supervisor on Eternals, Stephanie Cerretti, and Matt Atkin from Weta Digital FX, who was a supervisor, talked about the original version of the scene and how different it was. In answer to the question, what was the other ending, Stephanie Cerretti replied, "It was still with Harry Styles, actually, but it was in the spaceship with all the other Eternals. It was a little bit sadder and not as exciting in a way, so it didn't kind of resonate. Chloe had the idea of bringing Pip the Troll as his sidekick for the end of the movie. We did that pretty quick at the end." Matt Atkin added, Yeah, so, maybe, if they have a little time, they should go back and, tweak that. Yeah. But, of course, they've already added it to Disney Plus, so, they might be done. I did an interview with author Carrie Harris, so let's go to that interview now. Thomas? Hello, everyone. It's interview time. And tonight I have Carrie Harris, writer of genre fiction. Her latest is Witches Unleashed, a Marvel Untold novel. Welcome, Carrie Harris.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I'm a full time writer. I've been a full time writer now for 15 years almost. I write some original stuff, and I'm a huge Marvel super fan. So I actually signed with a publisher the same week that they inked a deal with Marvel, and so I very obnoxiously begged, shamelessly begged, to be allowed to pitch. And so I've written X-Men, Ghost Rider, and just turned in an Avengers book. So I'm pretty psyched.
Very good. Tell us a little about Ghost Riders in Witches Unleashed, a Marvel Untold novel.
Well, I'm a huge comic geek, so I like my books to be really tied into the comics. And you get some that are more directly tied in, and others that are kind of general. I prefer tied in if I can accomplish it. So, um, Witches Unleashed is based on two comic runs. One is the Vicious Cycle storyline with Johnny Blaze, where he escapes from hell, and Lucifer catches a ride and breaks off into 666 shards, and Johnny has to hunt him down. And in the comics, you only see like 20, 25 maybe. So there's still a lot of shards to work with. So I told one of the untold shards, in which Johnny has to partner up with the team from the Witches mini series, which is Jennifer Kale, Satana Hellstrom, and Topaz. Because I thought they would have an interesting. Well, they'd argue. That's what I thought. I thought they'd argue.
I see. So, in other words, you have to have a little bit of knowledge of the Ghost Rider backstory to really understand the novel, or can you just jump right in?
You can jump right in. I try to write books that are accessible to people who saw a Marvel movie once and liked it, but also to deep comic fans. So if you're a fan of the comics and if you've read them, you'll catch some Easter eggs that other people won't. But I try to give background, and since there's a lot of space, because it's a prose novel, there's a lot of words.
Mhm.
Like I make sure to catch everybody up with where things are and who these people are. So if you've never seen them, that's okay.
Oh, great. So, um, did you have any version of Ghost Rider in mind? Like, did Nicolas Cage come to mind, or did you fill in your own voice as you wrote it?
Um, I mean, yes, I've seen the Nicolas Cage movie. I did enjoy it as a Nicolas Cage movie. I think you can argue that it's not Johnny Blaze exactly, and
Mhm.
that's okay. If you go into it as Nick Cage, as a Nick Cage fan, then it's fun. But I'm a fan of Johnny Blaze from the comics. I used to read them when I was smaller, and so that's who I pictured. I know a lot of authors picture actors and things, but I actually pictured comic strip people running around.
Okay, so do you have if you could cast the role of Ghost Rider with an actor, who would you cast?
I mean, there've been all those Norman Reedus rumors, which is fine. I really enjoy him. I liked him ever since Boondock Saints. But probably my top pick would be Keanu, just because he's a biker.
Ooh.
He can handle Johnny's a tragic character. He turns into a flaming skull and rides a bike, and that's cool. But he's tragic. He's messed up, and I think Keanu would do a good job of both of those things.
Yeah, and if you saw Keanu in the list, the Matrix movie, he did kind of have that kind of Ghost Rider type vibe.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it and liked it, and I absolutely agree. I think he'd be excellent at it, and I liked him as Constantine. So he's got comic
Oh
book
yeah.
chops, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few people who liked Keanu's Constantine. Other people don't think, it's not blonde enough. He's not blonde. He's not English, but it was a perfectly fine version of it.
He had the spirit of it. I
Mhm.
love that movie. I wish there was another one. I'm sad that there's not. So I'm with you.
Okay, so you've mentioned that you're doing a Avengers story that's coming out.
Yeah. Uh, it's called Shadow Avengers. It comes out in April, and it's actually the second book in the series based on the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. You don't have to have played the game um, in order to appreciate it. They feel very much like Marvel Avengers movies. You know, lots of characters that you'll recognize, lots of fight scenes, witty banter, a few touching moments, that kind of thing. So it was a real blast to write.
Oh, great. And are there any other Marvel characters you'd like to write about in the future?
I mean, how long do we have? um, yes, and there's a long list. The one that I keep pitching because there's not a whole lot of content about her and she's not as appreciated as she should be is Dazzler from the X Men. Because she has so much potential, her
Mhm.
powers do, that I don't think anybody's really digged into her to find out exactly how powerful she is.
Yeah, she's one of those kind of, characters that's in the corner, but
Yeah,
really has more that she could offer.
I absolutely agree.
Yep. So, about you, what do you do in your off time?
What's that? um, I mean, you know, if you can't see from the wall behind me, I'm a huge nerd, so I read a lot. I watch a lot of sci-fi and fantasy TV and movies. Um, I have three teenagers, so I chauffeur people places all the time and yell at them to clean their rooms. And yeah, I make nerd like crochet nerd dolls and things like that. I haven't done that in a while though.
Well, that's awesome. Now, I noticed that not only do you do Marvel books, you do other books. Are there any other books you'd like to talk about?
Well, my most recent original book is called Elder God Dance Squad. It's actually right behind my head. So, and that one is it's kind of like Bring It On meets Stranger Things. It's a very ridiculous. It's about Lovecraftian creatures that are crawling up from underneath a high school and the dance team that has to have a dance battle to save the world with with the monsters.
Well, awesome. Well, for an interesting question here, I have a deck of cards in front of my
Ooh,
hands with interesting questions.
okay.
So let's pick one, see how you answer this. If you could bankrupt one person or company, who would it be?
Bankrupt?
Yes.
Ooh. I mean, I guess I'd pick whoever's the richest guy in the world currently, and I'm going to say Bezos because he's the richest one I can think of. But then you could redistribute some wealth.
Good choice. Good choice. All right. Well, I've enjoyed having you today. Tell everyone where they can find you online.
Um, let's see. You can visit me at my website, which is carrieharrisbooks.com. And then I'm very frequently on Twitter when I'm trying to avoid writing my words for the day. And I'm there at Carrhar, Carrhar.
All right. Awesome. Well, as I said, Witches Unleashed is out right now, and you have that upcoming Avengers book. Carrie Harris, thank you for dropping by, and I hope we'll talk more in the future.
Sounds good to me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's interview time. All right, and we're back. Witches Unleashed, a Marvel Untold novel, is out now, and you can find out more about her books. Just head on over to carrieharrisbooks.com, and I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. Now, that interview, I gotta tell you, that was a hard one to record. I originally was going to try it, do that. The reason why, if you watch the video of the show, the reason why that was an audio only interview was because of how I had to record it. Originally had Riverside.fm was how I was going to do this interview because I wanted to try them out. Trouble is, when I connected and when she connected, we couldn't hear each other, or I couldn't hear her. Perhaps it was, because that a particular piece of software is very finicky. You have to use the Chrome browser. Perhaps she wasn't using the Chrome browser. I wasn't about to find out. She had a definite out. She had to go get her kids. So I switched on over to Squadcast to record the episode. Thing about that one is it only records audio. It doesn't record the video. So, still I saved, that saved the day. That at least allowed me to put out this interview for you. So let's head on over to the Geek News. And we start Geek News today with Microsoft, which has announced that it's acquiring Activision Blizzard, makers of Call of Duty, Warcraft, Candy Crush, Tony Hawk, Diablo, Overwatch, Crash Bandicoot, and others for $68.7 billion in cash. Now, once the deal closes, the Activision Blizzard business will report up to Phil Spencer as CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Now, until the transaction goes through, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will operate independently. Now, Phil, in the announcement, said, quote, "Players everywhere love Activision Blizzard games, and we believe the creative teams have their best work in front of them. Together, we will build a future where people can play the games they want virtually anywhere they want," unquote. Now, if the transaction passes regulatory review and shareholder approval, the company would be Microsoft's in 2023. The Directors Guild of America has revealed the nominees. Hold on. Hey! Stop it! The Directors Guild of America has revealed the nominees for its 2022 awards in the theatrical feature film and first-time feature film categories. Oh, this is messed up. Hold on here. Hey! Stop it! No! The Directors Guild of America has revealed the nominees for its 2022 awards in the theatrical, feature film, and first-time feature film categories. Paul Thomas Anderson, who did Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh, who did Belfast, Jane Champion, The Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg, who did West Side Story, and Denis Villeneuve, who did Dune, were nominated in the Outstanding Directorial Achievement in the Theatrical Feature Film category. In the Outstanding Directorial Achievement of a first-time feature film director category, Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter, Rebecca Hall for Passing, Tatiana Huzo for Prayers for the Stolen, Lin-Manuel Miranda for Tick Tick Boom, Manuel Sarnaz for Pig, and Emma Seldon for Shiv Baby were nominated. The live-action Master of the Universe movie will be going to Netflix with West Side Story actor Kyle Allen set to play He-Man. The movie is set to start filming this summer and will be directed by the Nee brothers, who did The Lost City, from a screenplay they wrote with Shang-Chi scribe David Callaham. Todd Black, Jason Blumenthal, and Steve Tisch will produce alongside Devin Franklin. Robbie Benner and Kevin McKeon will oversee the project for Mattel Films. And now for some sad news. Sharon Moffat, the charming child actress of the 1940s, who starred alongside Cary Grant and Myrna Loy in Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, and with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in The Body Snatchers, has died. She was 85 years old. Sharon Moffat appeared in just 12 features during her career, all from 1944 to 1951, from the age of 8 to 15, while being paired with pooches in My Pal Wolf, A Boy, a Girl, and a Dog, and Rusty Leads the Way in Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Moffat played the younger daughter of Garrett and Lloyd's characters, who buy a dilapidated 200-year-old farmhouse. The film was remade as The Money Pit in 1986. And Are We Done Yet? In 2007, and was a girl who needs an operation to remedy her paralysis in the horror film The Body Snatcher from 1945, and was in Robot Monster, considered one of the worst movies ever made. She also appeared in TV's Adventures of Superman. Moffat died December 23rd of natural causes in a hospital in Pittsburgh. Her brother Gregory Moffat, who also acted as a youngster, told The Hollywood Reporter, now, in addition to Gregory, survivors include her brother Robert, her sisters Heidi and Annalisa, her children Jillian, Jonathan, and Jennifer, grandchildren Katie, Becca, Dan, Melissa, Mike, Joshua, Lydia, Peter, Zach, and Jake, and great-grandchildren Bobby, Connor, Annalise, and Nathan. Her husband preceded her in death in 2011. Peter Robbins, the former child actor best known for being the first kid to voice Charles Schulz's beloved character, Charlie Brown, has died earlier this month at the age of 65. His family announced this week in a statement to Fox 5 San Diego that Robbins took his own life last week. Though he lived long ago moved on from acting, he struggled with mental health issues and legal troubles throughout his adult life. Robbins' voice was immortalized in pop culture as the definitive version of Charlie Brown, Schulz's everyman little boy who seemed to face constant obstacles in the process of growing up. Though other voice actors have since taken over the character, Robbins is the best-known version of Charlie Brown, thanks to his presence in two of the most beloved specials to feature the character, A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, and It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown in 1966. Though most viewers wouldn't actually hear him play the character until A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, Robbins actually began voicing the character at the age of 9 in 1963 for the TV documentary A Boy Named Charlie Brown. This documentary featured animated sequences starring the Peanuts characters and was an instrumental first step in later getting the first holiday special produced. Made quickly for the 1965 holiday season, A Charlie Brown Christmas famously featured real children as the Peanuts gang rather than adult voice actors playing children. Robbins was able to embody Charlie Brown with an ability to pivot quickly between unbridled and crushing disappointment as the character tried to navigate a Christmas in which he couldn't seem to get the holiday spirit. Robbins returned for several more specials as Charlie Brown throughout the 60s, and while also appearing in live-action TV series like The Donna Reed Show, Rawhide, The Munsters, and more. Now, you've heard his voice as Gold Charlie Brown in It's a Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, You're in Love Charlie Brown, He's Your Dog Charlie Brown, It Was a Short Summer Charlie Brown, and A Boy Named Charlie Brown. He played the role into his teenage years before being replaced with another child actor. Robbins then moved away from acting in the 1970s, but continued to appear in specials commemorating various Charlie Brown anniversaries. He also struggled as an adult with bipolar disorder, and in the 2010s was briefly imprisoned after making criminal threats. In a 2019 interview with the Providence Journal, when he began making convention appearances again after his release from prison, Robbins reflected on the importance of a Charlie Brown Christmas's message of seeking help from others, saying, quote, Linus said it all, talking about the scrawny Christmas tree, he said, Linus said that all it needs is a little love. Maybe that's what we all need. Even though we are quirky, even though we are depressed, that is what Charlie Brown represents. But at the end of the day, love, unquote. Peter Robbins was 65 years old. Actress Yvette Mimieux has passed away. Now born in Los Angeles on January 8, 1942, she made her first on-screen appearance in an uncredited role in 1958's A Certain Smile. 2 years later, she would appear alongside Rod Taylor in George Pal's big-screen adaptation of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine as the future love interest of H. George Wells, Weena. Following the success, MGM put her under a long-term contract, and she starred in such films as Where the Boys Are, Platinum High School, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and Light in the Piazza. After her work at MGM, she starred in the adaptation of Toys in the Attic, The Reward, Monkeys Go Home, and The Picasso Summer, The Black Hole, and The Delta Factor. She also did a lot of television movies. Outside of acting, Yvette traveled, studying archaeology, selling real estate, and establishing a business that sold Haitian products. Momo was married 3 times, most recently to Howard F. Ruby, Chairman Emeritus and founder of Oakwood Worldwide. Yvette Momo passed away at home on January 7th. She was 80 years old. Along also gone is comedian and the actor and game show host Louis Anderson. Born on March 24th, 1953 in St. Paul, Minnesota, Anderson made his television debut on January 13th, 1984 on Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian Special on HBO. Now, later that year, he'd make his normal television debut on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He was then cast in the pilot episode of Perfect Strangers, but was replaced by Mark Lynn Baker when the pilot was picked up the series. Over the decades, he would appear in such movies as Cloak and Dagger, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Coming to America, and his final film role was in the sequel to Coming to America, the aptly named Coming Number 2, America. He had TV roles appearing in episodes of Roman Steel, The Jim Henson Hour, Grace Under Fire, Chicago Hope, Touched by an Angel, Scrubs, The Grim Adventures of Bill and Mandy, Tom Goes to the Mayor, and starred on the animated series Life with Louie, which won him a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Performance in an animated program. The short-lived The Louie Show and Baskets, which won him a Critics' Choice Television Award for Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, and a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. He also hosted The Family Feud and was featured on Funny You Should Ask, To Tell the Truth, The Hollywood Squares, and The New Hollywood Squares. In 2003, Anderson underwent 2 successful heart procedures. On January 18, 2022, it was announced that Anderson had been hospitalized in Las Vegas for large B-cell lymphoma. He died of complications from cancer 3 days later on January 21st at the age of 68. Howard Hesseman has passed away on January 29th, 2022. The actor, best known as DJ Dr. Johnny Fever in the 80s sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. Now, Hesseman was born in Lebanon, Oregon on February 27, 1940, and grew up to be a founding member of the San Francisco improv comedy troupe, The Committee, with David Ogden Stiers. Under the screen name of Don Saturday, Hesseman made his first TV appearances, including an episode of Dragnet in 1968, and played guest star roles in Rhoda Mannix, Sanford & Son, Laverne and Shirley, 13 episodes of Mary Hartman, Quincy M.E., 6 episodes of The Bob Newhart Show, The Rockford Files, 7 episodes of Soap, before landing the role that would be his most memorable on WKRP in Cincinnati in 1978. That show lasted 86 episodes, ending in 1982. After that, he appeared on One Day at a Time for 16 episodes as Sam Royer, and in 1986 he got his next big starring role as teacher Charlie Moore in Head of the Class. He left the show after the 4th season, hoping to get more movie roles. He reprised the role of Dr. Johnny Fever in the sequel series to WKRP in Cincinnati, the new WKRP in Cincinnati, for 10 episodes in 1991, and he also had a 3-shot guest spot on Boston Legal and many other appearances. His last TV role was in a couple of episodes of Fresh Off the Boat in 2017. Now, his movie roles date back to 1968 and include The Sunshine Boys, Silent Movie, Americathon, The Jerk, Dr. Detroit, Police Academy 2, This is Spinal Tap, Clue, Flav the Navigator, Amazon Women on the Moon, About Schmidt, 2009's Halloween 2, and his final movie role was in 2018's Dirty Politics. Hesseman died Saturday at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, Los Angeles, of complications from colon surgery he had last summer. His wife, actress and acting teacher Carolyn DeRook, told The Hollywood Reporter. Howard Hesseman was 81 years old. And finally tonight, singer and actor Marvin Leaday, better known by his stage name Meatloaf, has passed away. Meat was born on September 27, 1947 in Dallas, Texas. Meatloaf stated in an interview that when he was born, he was, quote, bright red and stayed that way for days, and that his father said he looked like 9 pounds of ground chuck, and convinced hospital staff to put the name Meat on his crib. He was later called ML in reference to his initials, but when his weight increased, his seventh grade classmates referred to him as Meatloaf because of his 5'2" 240-pound stature. He also attributed the nickname to an incident where he stepped on a coach's foot and the coach yelled, quote, "Get off my foot, you hunk of meatloaf." After a troubled childhood, he moved to Los Angeles and formed his first band, Meatloaf Soul, in the late 60s. He also started acting, joining an LA production of Hair. After that, he was invited to record with Motown and released an album with fellow Hair castmate Sean Stoney Murphy. A single of that album, What You See Is What You Get, landed in the soul charts and onto the Billboard Hot 100. They toured, but he later left Motown and went acting in off-Broadway productions. In late 1973, Meatloaf was cast in the original LA Roxy cast of The Rocky Horror Show, playing the parts of both Eddie and Dr. Everett Scott. Two other cast members from More Than You Deserve were also part of this cast, Graham Jarvis, who played the narrator, and Kim Milford, who played Rocky. The success of the musical led to the filming of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, in which Meatloaf played only Eddie, a decision he said made the movie not as good as the musical. About the same time, Meatloaf and Steinman started work on Bat Out of Hell. Meatloaf convinced Epic Records to shoot music videos for 4 songs: Bat Out of Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, and 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad, convincing Lou Adler, the producer of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, to run the Paradise video as a trailer to the movie. Bat Out of Hell has sold an estimated 43 million copies globally, including 15 million in the United States, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. In the United Kingdom alone, its $2.1 million sales put it in 38th place, despite peaking at number 9 and spending only 2 weeks in the top 10 in 1981. It has now spent 485 weeks on the UK albums chart, a figure bettered only by Rumours by Fleetwood Mac with 487 weeks. In Australia, it knocked the Bee Gees off the number 1 spot and became the biggest selling album of all time in that country. Bat Out of Hell has, as of December 2020, spent a total of 522 weeks in the top 200 in the UK chart. In the 1990s, he did a sequel of Bat of Hell called Bat of Hell 2, Back into Hell. That was an immediate success of Bat of Hell 2, led to sales of over 15 million copies, and the single, I'll Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That, reached number 1 in 28 countries. Meatloaf won the Grammy Award for Best Rock Vocal Performance, a solo in 1994 for I'd Do Anything for Love, and the song stayed number 1 in the UK for 7 consecutive weeks. The single featured a female vocalist who was credited only as Mrs. Loud. Mrs. Loud was later identified as Lorraine Crosby, a performer from England. Now, Meat released 12 albums over his lifetime. His final album was 2016's Braver Than We Are. His acting credits range from movies like The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Americathon, Wayne's World, Spice World, Fight Club, Tenacious D, In the Pick of Destiny, and many more. And he also did TV shows like Tales from the Crypt, Nash Bridges, South Park, The Outer Limits, House, Monk, Glee, and Ghost Wars. Meatloaf passed away in Nashville, Tennessee on the evening of January 20th, 2022, and while there has been no official cause of death, Meatloaf was reportedly ill with COVID-19. Meatloaf was 64 years old. And that brings us to the end of this edition. Now, please be sure to check us out on social media. We're at Twitter at Multiverse Tom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you'd like to contribute some money, check out our show notes, visit our TeePublic store, and so much more, head on over to multiversetonight.com. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. Be sure to share it with your friends. And if you're brand new to the show, please be sure to subscribe and leave some feedback. Let me know how we're doing. Now, special thanks to Shane Ivers for the intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro theme music. Thanks for watching this edition of Multiverse Tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more sci-fi and comic book news. Now, please exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half Baked Genre Productions, copyright 2022. All rights reserved. All right, everyone. Well, that's the show for today. Long, wasn't it? I'm going to have to do a little editing on the show, and we'll probably have it put up later today. Thank